All right, Rock Addicts, this is DJ REM, and I have Rob Moschetti on the line from Generation Kill. How you doing, brother?
What's happening?
Let's, I got you on the line. I always like to start and just kind of let you tell me everybody else that's in the band as well and what their spots are, just so everybody knows the band as a whole.
Well, the band was started by myself, Rob Moschetti, obviously, and Rob Dukes, who's the current singer in Exodus. The lineup as it stands right now, because being that this project was kind of thrown together by me and him, the material was more important than the players at the time we started it. And we just kind of grabbed whoever was available and local and friends of ours and had a history with. So the album lineup was me, Dukes, Jason Trenzer, who I did an album with in '92, the band called Mutilation. We also included Lou Lehman on lead guitar as well, who was in Mutilation with me in '92. I've always wanted to do something with those guys again, because I basically quit them to join MOD. And then I kind of felt bad that we never really got to finish what we started, so I brought him into this. Lou's gone now. He couldn't keep up with the schedule, which is, understandable. And we replaced him with Jason Velez. So we have two Jasons now. And Sam and Zara, the drummer on the record, I was playing with. We were both filling in a hardcore band called Undivided. So he was just there at the right time, or the wrong time, it depends who you ask. And we just dragged him into the studio with us and did the record. Sam didn't work out as well. Not a schedule thing with Sam, but more a creativity kind of thing where, he's a death metal drummer, black metal drummer. I figured because he was doing the hardcore project before, he'd be cool with where we were going, which was uncharted territory as far as we were concerned. We weren't going to be Exodus Junior. We weren't going to be a straight up hardcore band. We wanted to stretch a little bit, which if you listen to the full record, it's not just hardcore, it's not just metal. There's all sorts of different influences on it, and so Sam didn't really like the direction. Basically, halfway through the making of the record, he kind of was showing his distaste for some of the material, and me and Dukes refused to budge as far as changing our writing style that we were looking for right from the beginning for someone who really wasn't writing material. So we replaced him with Jim DeMaria, who was playing in Marauder at the time, but looking for a more steady gig. So it's Dukes, Moschetti, Trenzer, Velez, and DeMaria right now. So.
Okay, very cool, dude. What So how long as a whole has this band been together now? How long have you guys been doing this?
Well, the record came out in September, late September, but me and Rob got together maybe in '08. He approached me about doing a project, and I think the same week he did that, I had Hate written and Depraved Indifference from the record, musically written. And I showed it to him, and he said, perfect, let's keep going. And then, little by little, we incorporated the old players. And Rob's got a busy schedule at Exodus, so he kind of let me handle putting the band together.
Right.
So I kind of, out of convenience and friendships, grabbed Lou and Jay, used Sam. And that's basically, I would say '08, give or take, Started playing shows pretty soon. We probably had half a record written and we were already playing out. What we would do is we'd do like 5 or 6 tunes of, off the record. Then we'd throw in like an old Black Sabbath tune, just for, shits and giggles to fill some time. Plus, all of us as a whole, our two favorite bands, growing up would be like Metallica, old Metallica and Sabbath. So even nowadays, we have enough material to play a full set we still wind up doing, a Sabbath and maybe something off of Master of Puppets just to fuck with people, like to show them how good Metallica was,
Right, yep.
People seem to forget, so we got to remind them, those fuckers were 21, 22 years old, and they wrote a masterpiece, so... So we pay tribute to them. Plus, Rob's friends with those guys, and actually, Duke's got a chance to jam. Kirk Hammett actually jumped on stage with Exodus, and actually 2 days ago we did a show, and when we did Disposable Heroes as our encore, Mark from Death Angel jumped up on stage and sang it with us.
It's a pretty rough gig you got, buddy.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's basically it, and we're just having fun with it, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't want people to listen to it and say, it's kind of weird because I haven't been in MOD since 95, maybe. I haven't been in Propane since 98. And it seems like those influences are kind of creeping into the project more so than, like, the Exodus thing, like we're getting a lot of people are calling it a crossover act, or there's some hardcore elements in it, but no one's really calling it Exodus Junior, which is kind of what we wanted. I mean, we all love Exodus. We grew up on Exodus. They're they're number 5 in the Big Four, basically, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I would probably replace Anthrax with Exodus, but so we didn't want to, Rob's already in one of the biggest metal bands in the world. Why are we going to even go there? You know what I mean? So we just said, sky's the limit with this thing. There's acoustic guitar on some tracks. There's keyboards on one track. There's songs with no drums. There's songs with blistering heavy guitars and solos. There's songs without any solos. There's songs with singing, screaming. There's songs, with all of those elements in one song, and, some of the songs have none of those elements, you know what I mean? So we just wanted a blank canvas to start with, and there was no repercussions, no one said anything because it's a new record and a new band.
Right.
When bands change drastically, that's when you start abandoning your original fan base. I didn't want to do that because obviously people grow and develop and they change. People change. And so does your writing. I wanted to, keep the door wide open so there's no surprises 3 records in. Oh my God, they put an acoustic track on. What the hell is that? You know what I mean? We already did it on our first record.
Yeah, I totally know what you're saying, because there's so many people out there that think a band should just, they're like, oh, they changed their style. Well, do you think do you want them to just make the same songs over and over again? I mean, come on.
And not only that, I mean, Hetfield, his voice changed on every album. I mean, in Kill 'Em All, he was a kid.
Right.
He just had that high-pitched squeal and scream. But you go on the road and play hundreds of shows, you can't do that every night. So you change and you develop, and then you got Ride the Lightning at the Master of Puppets, and obviously when you age, so do your vocal cords, and when you're screaming, they change. It's a drastic strain on your voice, and listen to Dukes on Shovelheaded Kill Machine compared to now. He's I think he's getting better. He's finding himself.
Right.
But with us, he's not afraid to sing a little bit, and it's not coming off as some emo fucking screamo project. You know what I mean? It's more of a diverse thing. Like at first glance, you think it's just some crossover metal band or an old school thrash band. But if you take the time to put on a set of headphones and listen to the album from beginning to end, it can't be judged by one song. It tells a story from beginning to end of a soldier enlisting, killing to stay alive, kill, fight, and then eventually questioning, what the hell am I doing here, to getting hooked on drugs in the process just to get through it, and then by the time he comes home, he's a drug addict killing machine who can't shut off the buzz and the high of killing until he finally, gets thrown in the loony bin, which by that time you're up to section 8 on the album, which is meant to sound like a loony bin. And then ultimately he winds up taking his own life to escape the voices from The Walking Dead, of everybody who's haunted him throughout his whole killing spree of the war and afterwards. By the time he realizes, he did something wrong, it's too late, and the only way out is to end it. So by the time Let Me Die comes on the end of the album, that's basically what happens. He's like, don't cry for me, just let me fucking die. But, the album itself, it's one song to me. I produced it and arranged it in the concept order. The concept wasn't written. It wrote itself. We had no intentions of making a concept record. When I was trying to put the songs in an order for the album, it just told the story itself. And I presented it to Dukes. I go, how fucking creepy is this? But if you listen to the words to each song in order in the song titles, it tells a whole story of this common thing, believe it or not, that happens,
Right.
And we went with it, and like I said, you can't judge. People ask me my favorite song. I can't even choose one because they're all so different.
Right. My favorite's Red, White, and Blood, by the way.
You know what it is? Dukes was living with me for about a month after he got off the road, and we had half the record done. And I write tons of freaking songs. So he was gone one day. I wrote that music, like, quick, just because you can listen to it. It's nothing spectacular. It's just a catchy, hardcore punk song, With a different singer, it could be a commercial song, It could be a Green Day song or a freaking Foo Fighters song with someone else singing it, So I showed it to him, not intending it to be anything for us, but still saying, is this too happy for us musically? It was just the music. And he said, it ain't going to be by the time I get done with it. and when we went in the studio, like, the music we track in my house, and then we wind up taking it to a real studio to do vocals and mix. And I went in the studio with him, and he just started, and I was like, dude, because I write lyrics myself, I said, I would have never, ever went that direction. Not only topically, but the whole way he attacked it and sang it, and the delivery and the phrasing, and that's what's so great about this project, is that if I paint myself into a corner, writing-wise, I give it to someone else, and I go, here, take it. I painted myself in a corner. I don't know where to go from here. And, even though I wrote the tune, Trenzer helped me on it musically. I mean, basically with my own riffs, but kind of helping me through it. Duke saved it because I really couldn't come up with anything lyrically for it. I didn't even know where to begin. I thought I was going to have to change the structure. He sang to the exact way I tracked it. He didn't change anything musically. He just found a way to make it work. But that's definitely an attention getter of a song, But by no means can you judge the whole record from that one song. And in a way, it's cool, but in another way, it kind of hurts you because picture some straight up metalhead hearing that song. Oh, they're just some retro punk hardcore crap. But give it a chance. Listen to Feast. It's nothing like Red, White, and Blood, but still heavy in its own way,
No, and I agree. I mean, I've played every song several times on my shows from the album, and every single song is killer. So if you're listening out there, listen to all the tracks.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too. I know a lot of people out there haven't really heard the project, but if you play a couple of tunes, I'm not telling you it's the greatest album in the world. I'm not telling you it's the most innovative stuff that's never been done before. I was hanging with Bobby Blitz a couple of months ago, and he loves the record, and I told him, he thought I was insulting myself, and I go, you know what's funny, Bob? I said, this record could have been released in 1986, and it still wouldn't have been ahead of its time. And he laughed, and I go, dude, that's not really, I'm not joking. I'm like, if this album came out, when How Will I Laugh Suicidal came out, or when freaking, you know, Master of Puppets came out, or Peace Sells came out, or, you know, people wouldn't be saying, whoa, my God, what the hell is this? This is so innovative. But if you like music from that genre, and I know a lot of people still do, who just can't get a grip on a lot of the new metal stuff, because it's all been done before, you know what I mean? And
yep.
if you just want an old school listen that's still like understandable but heavy, you know, then this is your record. If you're looking for innovative, progressive, you know, this really ain't your project. I wouldn't waste the money and buy it and be disappointed.
Yeah, well, a lot of this new stuff sucks, so I'm just gonna say that.
It is something as simple as Run to the Hills. That little drum fill he does, it became so cool when you first heard that in the chorus of Run to the Hills.
Uh-huh.
A little drum lick like that was the coolest thing ever. You try pulling something like that off now, people are going to laugh at you. But you can't do anything like that anymore. Like even like the out section of One, Lars doing that double bass thing. It was just incredible, you know, amazing. Now everybody does it, and they overdo it, and it becomes redundant, and it's all machines and Pro Tools and Beat Detective, and it's like every drummer sounds exactly the same. You know, there's a few out there, obviously, who have their own style. But if you're noticing that all the drummers have the same sounds and the same patterns, and it sounds like a drum machine, it's because it basically is. You know, the equipment today is taking away the live element of real drummers, you know, honestly, and even real guitar players. Drums aren't supposed to sound like a typewriter, and
right.
Drums and guitar aren't supposed to sound like one instrument. There's got to be a little bit of human element left, or else it just becomes a machine, you know. Now, if that works for you and people are digging it, if that's your thing, go with it. You know, it's probably selling you a ton of records, and all the young kids are digging it. But we're not about doing that. You know, we're out to satisfy ourselves, honestly. That's why we say in our bio, it's a selfish project. We're doing what we want, and hopefully if people dig it, come along for the ride. If not, fuck off, because we're not going to change it for you.
Very cool, dude. Hey, Renee in the chat, she's one of the owners of Rock Addict Radio. She wants me to thank you for giving Ash permission to use Walking Dead in the commercial he made for the station. Yeah,
well, hopefully, I tried to tell Ashley the commercial he did for that show. Tell her if she pays for 5 flights and a hotel room, we'll do the show next year. You know?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You know, there's 5 of us. You know, you have a back line, 5 plane tickets. And you know, in 3 hotel rooms, we'll do this show. You okay?
Well, she might just take you up on that. We'll see. It's getting a lot of looks like it's getting a lot of attention this year, so we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously we'd be honored to play something like that. You know what I mean? We don't care. You know, new fans. That's all what we're about. Like, we get offers all the time to headline. And I refuse. You know, I say, you know what? We're not going to expose ourselves to new fans by headlining.
Right.
I want to play with other people. Now, our manager probably hates that because there's more money headlining. But the band's not money driven. The band, we're about, you know, trying to sell records and expose people to the project more so than make a few bucks. You know, we're thinking more about the big picture than just a quick fix. You know what I mean, or a quick buck.
Hey, a band with a brain. That's kind of cool.
Well, it's more about integrity. Like, as far as
right.
You know, we could have headlined a show for, you know, $800 to $1,000, but if we're going to be exposed to way more people doing a freebie, I'll take the freebie.
Right.
And our, you know, management isn't happy with it, but they don't run the band. You know, they help me run it. but that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to spread the word more. None of us are trying to make a living off of this.
Right.
We already make livings doing other things. So the main thing we're trying to do is just get the word out by doing these interviews, getting people to play the stuff, and we're not trying to, sell something phony. I tell you what it is. It's a straight up from the heart project. It's not Dream Theater. It's not Rush. They're cool bands. It's just not us.
Right. Well, I'm just gonna keep saying it. I think it's badass. So just keep doing it, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, hey, another listener, Chris Rock, in the chat. He wants to know. And he's kind of going off, how this kind of, didn't intentionally kind of turn out to be a concept kind of thing. He wants to know if you would consider doing like another concept album.
That would probably be a lot harder to do if you thought about it ahead of time. Then it would probably seem, thrown together. This concept was thrown together without intentionally doing it.
Right. I think that's what makes it so
cool and
awesome.
easy. But if we said we're going to do another concept album, I could see that being a real pain in the ass, and it would probably fall short because it would be forced.
Right.
And plus, I don't want to be redundant. And it would obviously have to be a different concept. But yeah, I see the second record being a lot more vague than the first. Less, maybe each song having its own complete different story than just, I don't want the album cover either to define the whole record either. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of hard because you get stuck in a rut where it's like, your album cover these days, it dictates the subject of your whole album in a way, and it's kind of hard to do, and it kind of limits you, So I just want, on the second one, I'd be open to calling it Generation Kill 2,
Right.
Yeah. And then, like Zeppelin did.
As long as you don't just put a picture of all you guys on there. I hate that when bands do that.
There ain't enough room for our big heads on the cover.
So where'd you guys record this album at? What studio did you use?
We were in Rockland County, New York, and I use my own home studio for guitars and bass and guitar solos. And then we use J-Rod Productions in Rockland County as well to do drums and vocals, and I mix there because he has the outboard gear. But I don't really wind up using much outboard gear. But if you need like a little reverb and a little bit of, I try to track when I do the guitars and bass. When it leaves my house, I really don't want it changing much from there. A lot of guys will take your original sound and then change it. That's not what I kind of want to take a little lesson from like Zakk Wylde and Dimebag, who have their own trademark sound, and they take it to the studio. I'm not one of those guys, we'll do that in the mix.
Right.
It never comes out the way you really want it. Don't let the studios fucking guys bullshit you. It's all about making money. You're on the clock. They want to try every guitar sound known to man because they're getting paid $50 to $100 an hour for the studio. When you're doing it for free in your own studio, you can do it as many times as you want. You still wind up doing it quicker. Because you don't have the pressure of being on the clock. But if I wake up at midnight and have an idea for a song, I go in my living room and I track it,
Right.
And then I show it to the guys, and if they like it, I keep those guitar tracks and bass tracks. And then I have the drummer play along to it, to a click track, I'll have the drummer, hear what I did either on my pad drum kit or programmed kit, show him what it is, the original idea, but I never hold anybody to it. I was like, you can make it better, you can do whatever you want, honestly. Just keep in mind this is what I was going for, but you want to take it further, go. If any of the guys show any kind of interest or passion towards any of my stuff or their own stuff, it's pretty much going to make it on the record,
Oh, hey, Ashley just messaged me. He told me to tell you you are the best there is.
He's only saying that because I'm helping him. Ashley's my boy.
Yeah, well, we can bust his balls and go with that though. That's cool.
Yeah, well, when he found out who I was, we used to work together. He thought I was a garbage man. I still am. But when he came to work for the company, somebody told him that I was in propane. And when he found out, he's like, "You're in propane?" I said, "No, I was." He's like, "Y'all are hard." He swears he never said it, but whatever. I'll take it to the grave that he did say it. And no, that's my boy. I help him out with his project. I'm actually producing the Ashes of Fire stuff.
Oh yeah, he soon as like the latest track there, he sent it to me as soon as it was done, and I've already played it on my show. I love his stuff, so good job helping him.
No, it's cool. He was having trouble finding guys out there, and I said, "You don't need them." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because you got me."
Damn straight.
So he sent me some of his music, and then the same day I sent it back to him, basically album quality. 6 guitar tracks, bass track, drums, all done. His riffs, his arrangement. I said, "Now go do your thing on it there, Death Clock." And, because I know he likes that kind of stuff. And I write a lot of that stuff that I can't really use myself, too. So some of the material musically on the Ashes of Fire stuff is mine. But it's not mine once I give it to him. It becomes his immediately,
Right.
Because I really can't do anything with it. But, I write tons of songs. I'm not just going to throw them away or let them sit. If people can enjoy them in a different market, like a death metal market, why would I, just leave them in my house sitting on my machine when they could bring life to his project? So
yeah, well, and just before we stop talking about him, I want to just thank him for hooking me up with you, because he messaged me one day. He's like, "Dude, you need to interview Rob." I'm like, "You're right, I do." So
funny, I gave him and my manager a mission. I said, I want to do as many interviews as possible, and he's beating out my own manager for getting the interviews.
That's awesome. Very cool. He made me a killer intro for my show. I'll email it to you so you can hear it, because it's badass.
I think I've probably heard it already.
Well, good. I hope so.
No, it is. He kind of, not that he has to run things through me, but he shows me before he puts anything out or does. He winds up emailing it to me just to ask what I think.
That's awesome.
And I said, "Dude, it's your thing. You don't need my permission."
It just shows how much he respects you. That's cool.
No, that's cool. I appreciate that.
Okay, so what are your influences? What were your influences growing up, and what made you want to be into music like this?
Just an older brother who, my brother Mike was into everybody was into the classic rock thing when I was growing up. So I'm basically a child of the '70s, so it was like Zeppelin and the Doors and all that stuff, and I still love that stuff. But my, the middle brother in my family was the troublemaker, and he was into Maiden and Priest and Ozzy and Sabbath. And I was close with all my brothers, but he was the one that kind of had that little bit of a dark side to him. So I kind of latched onto that. And once Metallica came out, that was it. It put it within my reach. Because when I started listening to Metallica, they weren't billionaires yet.
Right.
It was like power chords, heavy, street clothes, Acne. Like, hey, I got all those things.
Uh-huh.
So it was like, except for I had an afro.
You had an afro?
It was like if Metallica put it in our reach.
Uh-huh.
And then SOD, and then, once you listen to that, the door opens and it became like Sacred Reich, Suicidal, SOD, MOD, you know. So I was a fan of MOD before I was even in the band, which was kind of cool, you know. And
Yeah,
I
that's
wound
awesome.
up playing all the SOD classics were the MOD encore. So I got to play Kill Yourself Live and Pussy Whipped and United Forces, all songs that me and my burnout friends used to hang out in the woods drinking beer and getting high, you know. Like 2 years later, I'm playing those songs in Europe in front of, you know, crazy crowds, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of a trip, you know. It was awesome though. It was some of
So,
the best memories, you know, anyone could ever ask for.
yeah, no doubt.
That wasn't enough. You know, this stuff's like crack. You can't stop. You gotta keep going. You know, I used to be, I just gotta get to Europe, then I can die. Okay, then you do that. Then you gotta keep going. You gotta find something new to do. And, you know, I'm an old man now. It's hard to picture my life without doing this. But eventually, you know, it's gonna stop eventually, unless, you know, I'm gonna be like Lemmy, which is cool. Lemmy's still doing it.
Yeah, you just keep doing it, man.
Yeah.
Nothing stopping you. So I hear that Run It Out and Slow Burn are going to be on a soundtrack. What's up with that?
Yeah, well, Slow Burn now is already in the soundtrack, and all the, you know, the legal stuff's all done, and now we're just waiting. Not me, but the movie maker is waiting for, you know, a distributor, and they're doing film festivals and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's in like a mafia movie, believe it or not. And,
Cool.
it's like a revenge movie. So they heard Slow Burn somehow. I think I gave my current drummer, I think I gave him like 30 CDs. Because he's one of those social butterflies who's like at every show and every metal thing and movie premieres and all that crap. Whatever he can do, he does. So I gave him to him knowing that, you know, he'll have enough sense to give it to the right person. And it just turns out one of the people he gave the disc to was involved in this movie.
Cool.
And but as far as Run It Out, that's on a European compilation, and we're trying to get it into like a mixed martial arts movie. You know what I mean? But you know, that's not a done deal yet.
Well, good luck.
No, it's cool. Any way to expose the band, you know.
Right? Exactly. You know, I forgot to ask you when you were talking about recording and things, what kind of guitar do you use?
I use exclusively Halo guitars. It's a custom company, a small company out of California. So anything I do, because I did all the guitars on Self-Medicating, I did all the guitars on Dark Days, I did all the guitars on Red, White, and Blood. Yeah, for those who don't know, I played bass in MOD, but I also played guitar in Profane, so I can kind of bounce back and forth. And Halo was cool enough to give me a full endorsement sponsorship, so I'm loyal to them, you know, 100%. You'll never see another guitar in my hand as long as, you know, they're in my corner, you know. And we're not the biggest band, so for them to do that, it's really cool.
How long have you been using them?
You know, probably since, you know, the making of the record.
Oh, cool. So if I grabbed your iPod or your MP3 player from you right now, what would I find you listening to? What kind of music are you listening to these days?
The iPod. Me and my girlfriend were just talking about that. She thinks her iPod's way more fun than my iPod.
Of course.
I think that was the quote she said today. But, you know, mine's a metal. She loves metal too. Pantera, Metallica, all that. But, you know, she's more diverse and open-minded to other stuff. Mine's like a metal iPod. I mean, the main thing for me is like Metallica albums it was up to Master of Puppets, and then just recently I took And Justice from All from her because she convinced me that that's still old Metallica, and she's right.
Yeah, I love that album.
It was like the Cliff Burton thing to me. I just love the whole Cliff Burton era. Nothing
Right.
against Jason.
Yep.
So, Metallica up to that. Old Megadeth, first two Megadeth records. Old Suicidal. Again, everything I mentioned earlier that we were kind of not really aiming this band at, but what we grew up in and with in the 80s, basically. I have Suicidal, Join the Army, How Will I Laugh, the very first Suicidal, stuff like that. I really have nothing new. Like, if I have anything new, it's the latest Exodus album. The last two are definitely in there. And Sabbath. Up to probably like up to Sabotage. Nothing. I don't think I have anything after that.
Okay, cool, man. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you at a show? Because obviously you've gotten to play some pretty cool shows in your career. So
Craziest thing at a show.
That you're willing to share. We'll say that.
Czech Republic in MOD, some kid came up on stage and tried to rip off my shirt. So, I didn't know what he was doing at first. And then finally, I just stopped playing, and me, my guitar tech, and Billy, stopped the song, stripped the guy down to absolutely nothing, and threw him into the crowd with nothing but his sneakers. So
Nice.
He actually had to walk home, because everybody at that club, they were piss poor, everybody, but there's no way he drove. He'd probably take a bus to the show or walk. And he had to walk home completely naked. So that was probably the weirdest thing that ever happened at a show. But it was on video. I just can't find it. It's from like 93 or 94. Yeah, 93 I think it was.
That's great.
But I have nightmares of stuff like that. Having to walk home naked from somewhere. This guy really had to do it. So, but he tried to rip off my shirt. That's what's gonna happen.
That's right. Payback. Biatch. Anything else you'd like to mention about Generation Kill that we haven't talked about that I haven't asked you?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much said it before. If you're bored with what's going on in metal right now, give it a listen. Give it a try. You can play as many tunes as you want on the station, and if people dig it, you can get it on iTunes, Amazon.com, or right from our record label, Seasons of Mist, online. Or Nuclear Blast online. And again, we didn't reinvent the wheel with this, but if you like just aggressive, heavy, old school, honest music, it's a good record,
Okay, so I have a couple more questions coming in to me for you.
Okay.
The first one is from the chat, and they want to know, would you guys ever consider putting the drummer up front and the guitars on the drum riser?
I would never even imagine why we would do something like that. I guess if you want to break tradition, it would be a cool thing to do, but I can't see why we would ever do that. But that would probably be a guitar player asking that question, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
No, I mean, when you're dealing with clubs and traditional setups, you just go there and you set up and play it. You're not going to try to change the whole setup of how a band looks on stage, right?
Right.
But either it's a drummer who wants to be up front. That guy's either a drummer.
Yeah, he's a drummer.
It depends who your drummer is, No, I don't know. I think the drummer belongs in the back, holding it all together.
Okay, and then, again, Ashley's text, he's messaging me. He's not tuned in for some reason. He says he can or something. I don't know. So you're going to have to give him hell about not being tuned in.
Right, because he's probably listening to the stove instead of the radio. He's not the brightest guy on the planet.
You kind of already touched on this, but and I think you already told us this, but I'll just ask just to clarify. He's like, ask Rob about the last show when the singer from Death Angel played, Disposable Heroes with you guys. And I think you kind of touched on that, so that had to have been pretty cool, though.
Yeah, he was in town, and he's friends with Rob. I really don't know the guy. I just met him on Thursday night. Seemed like a really cool guy. Rob and Jim, our drummer, are friends with him, and he was in town, and they asked him to do it, and he was totally cool with it. He was plastered. He told me, he goes, I'm going to be singing 2112 when I go up there.
Okay. I am out of questions for you. I want to thank you again for taking the time to call in and do this. I truly appreciate it. And just so you know, when I let you go here in a couple minutes, I'm going to play the entire album from beginning to end. So listeners are going to get to hear the whole album.
Thank you.
So the last thing I would like to do is if you can make a couple radio tags for me.
Absolutely.
I greatly appreciate it. And I know in the past from my old gig that I had, you actually made me a killer one. So,
all right.
But if you can make the first one, just say, this is Rob Moschetti from Generation Kill, and you're listening to RockAddictRadio.com.
All right. Tell me when.
Yep, you can go.
What's up? This is Rob Moschetti from Generation Kill, and you're listening to Rock Addict Radio.
Perfect. And then the second one will be for my show, so if you can do the same thing, but just throw DJ REM in there.
But still Rock Addict Radio?
Yeah, just, you're listening to DJ REM at Rock Addict Radio.
Right, cool. This is Rob Moschetti from Generation Kill, and you're listening to DJ REM on Rock Addict Radio.
Okay, cool, dude. Once again, like I said, totally appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, so...
Oh, there's no problem, dude. I appreciate you trying to spread the word. I mean, we need all the help we can get, so...
Yeah, I've been, ever since the tunes started heading my way, I've been playing them for, since last fall. So I'm just going to keep on playing them and trying to spread the word because I actually have a lot of Generation Kill fans that tune into my show. So
cool. Where are you based out of?
I'm in Michigan.
All right, cool. Yeah, we used to play Hard Post back in the day.
Yeah, I know where that's at. Yep. But we have DJs. We have DJs in New York.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
We got DJs all, just like the other station I was at. We have DJs all over the country, so it's cool.
I do appreciate it. Everybody in the band appreciates it, definitely. So
yeah, well, please tell them I said hello, and please tell them I said thank you for making killer music.
Cool, man. Thank you very much.
So, okay, man. You have a great night.
Thanks, bro.
Okay.